Hello, everyone. This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. Background being, well, we've been in business for 13 years. Background being aerospace, medical implants, medical materials, printing, and plastic distribution, where we dealt with every industry under the sun. We have two guests here. One is David Calhoun, the CEO of Boeing, who was on board in 2009 when the FAA gave regulatory authority to Boeing employees for their commercial airlines. You'll see that in this video. You also have Mr. Lieutenant General Donald E. Kirkland, a retired Boeing Comprehensive Quality Review of the 737 MAX. And this goes directly to the management and personnel at Japan Airlines who may be running a Boeing aircraft, especially a Boeing aircraft where they may have purchased it in 2002 to present. It's very important that you watch this video. The name of this is QA Expert Daryl Guberman alerts Japan Airlines and passengers about Boeing being an FAA regulator in 2009. You cannot make this up. I do this because I believe that when you sit down in an airplane, that you should have assurance that the structure, that airplane will get you from point A to point B. With what I'm going to show you, you don't have that reliability, and it is because of slipshod inspection. I don't put this on the workers on the floor, but I definitely put it on the management. You have ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation, and it has both federal agencies and corporations on board. In 2015, then Randy Dodry was the Vice President of ANAB, Chairman of the IAF, and also the principal on the IAF tax report, which 990 tax report. He handed over leadership to this communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu, who is also at the time the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services. He is mandated by his country of origin, Communist China, to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. So he's been involved with our quality for a long time. Mind you this, ladies and gentlemen, the IAF is an it's incorporated in Delaware. It has both national and international accreditation bodies on it. They are all equivalent to ANSI ANAB accreditation. ANSI ANAB are underwriters for those organizations. So it's not, if something happens in the system, the liability was not theirs. But now, since they are underwriters, and we have all documentation proving that, they are liable for any failure, not just systematic, but also product failure. He is now standing over Zhao Jinwu in 2017 in the lab at Wuhan, China, the BioLevel 4 lab. And what this means is that the China National Accreditation Services that certified the laboratory is equivalent in accreditation to ANSI ANAB. Mind you, at the same time, there was a Ms. Pamela Sale, the Vice President of Quality for Laboratory Certification. She stated under deposition that from one laboratory to another, there are variances, which means that virus got released because of protocol issues and a lack of personal training, all of that. I will also say this, in 2016, Randy invited us to join either the IF or ANAB or both, but how in good conscience as a proud American I could do that, because this communist national was watching over ANSI and ANAB because they sat on the IF. You'll see this very shortly. You have ANAB who sits on ANSI's board. In 2018, ANSI took over complete control over ANAB. You also have the factor that ANSI and ANAB, as I told you, sit on the IF, and they sat there while Communist China was watching over it. While they have federal agencies on ANSI's board, okay, like the FAA, the DOJ, the FTC, the FBI, the USDA, CDC, NIH, all of them sat there. The worst thing is sitting on an American company is both Iran and Pakistan. I'm not saying this about the people of those countries. I'm saying it about the politicians. You have this guy, Khomeini, who is subsidizing Hamas, okay? And we see what Hamas is doing in the Middle East. Now, does ANSI, ANAB approve and condone that. They must, because they're sitting on an American company and they are equivalent in accreditation to ANSI, ANAB. Now we continue on. You have 7 different quality registrars that sit on ANSI's board, right over by the accreditation ANAB, that they use on their certificates. Is there oversight? No. Is there any quality? No. You have Intertech registrars who accredits, who actually certifies the spare aero systems that supply materials to Boeing. Okay, it just piles up and piles up. Okay. Now we get on to Boeing. Boeing, and here is Boeing in its spectacular color, literally. This is a supplier information document that went out in 2002. What it basically says here, I'm going to change the word survey to, basically it goes like this, well, actually I'm going to change survey to audit. On-site Boeing audit of suppliers' quality system if need be. Our preference is to deal with proven suppliers with excellent quality performance and not have to do on-site quality system surveys. What that means, in 2002, they gave authority to ANSI, ANAB, the accreditation bodies, the accreditation body, because ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. So they gave complete control for ANSI, ANAB to their suppliers, and their suppliers, if they are ANSI, ANAB accredited, will hand in their certificate. Here it is, we're AS9100, which is for aerospace, the international quality standard by the International Organization of Standards. This is for aerospace, AS9100. They hand it in, and then they make the part, and they send it to them. You know, they check it off. Boeing checks it off their checklist, and the company sends in their parts, and Boeing does not have to send any source inspectors out there. You find anything wrong with that? The next thing I want to tell you is this, and I think Japan Airlines, you have to be privy to this, because you hear Mr. David Calhoun talk about their regulator. This document, without a doubt, proves that the FAA gave FAA authority. So Boeing became the regulator of the FAA together, a regulator to a regulator. Do you think they have a conundrum going on here? And this is it. I'm just going to read the first sentence here, but this will be down in the description so you can all look at it and click on it and read it. The FAA increased the authority of Boeing's commercial airplanes division to self-certify its own aircraft. So they gave the disposition to Boeing to be a regulator, the FAA regulator. Let's continue on. You have Boeing that sits on ANSI's board. And remember what I told you. Boeing sits on ANSI's board right over by their accreditation body, ANAB, as I showed you. On their supplier portal, here it is, Boeing calls out ANSI, ANAB. And if they really cared about their quality on there, and I have a snapshot of it, so you, if you wanted the actual, snapshot of the web page, I have it because I know they're probably going to change it because I'm hitting them with this. It states ANSI, ASQ, National Accrediting Board, ANAB, or internationally equivalent, and you find out the international equivalent could be Iran and Pakistan. So on their website, it calls out, as I said, ANSI, ASQ, American Society of Quality, sits on ANSI's board, right over by ANAB, right over by all of them. So what happened is in 2018, as you see, ANSI took over complete control away from ASQ, okay, and gave it to ANAB. So it was ANSI, ANAB. You also have internationally equivalent. So you have a mess. So if they really cared about their quality, they would have changed that. It's happened in 2018. So that means for 6 years, it hasn't changed on their website. What does that say about their quality? Also, Japan Air, this is very disturbing. You find out that they were fudging documentation on the airliners that they were building. And this was this was after the FAA gave them approval. You have most recently a V-22 Osprey, a Bell V-22 Osprey went down killing soldiers. And in their composite facility several weeks ago, Bell Boeing composites that make the V-22 products, They got caught with not putting in proper documentation, pressures, temperatures. The paperwork was not good. Probably another fudging contest that they did, because they are on FAA. They are the representative. So if we look at David Calhoun, in 2009, when they came in to do the dispensation about Boeing employees becoming FAA representatives and having FAA authority, he was basically an FAA administrator on top of him now being a CEO. You have, as I said, the FAA sitting on ANSI's board right over by, as I showed you, Boeing, and here it is, and a regulator. They are both regulators. They're in a conundrum. Japan Airlines, they're in a conundrum, really bad. No ifs, ands, or buts about. On top of it, you have the Department of Transportation. Most recently, we read that the FAA and the Department of Transportation, actually, the FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board, which is part of the Department of Transportation, in concert with the FAA, is going to be evaluating Boeing. How can a regulatory agency watch over the regulatory agency that they gave blessings to in 2009? You tell me. My telephone number is 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS@yahoo.com. Now this goes directly to Japan Airlines, its management and personnel. I do this because I care. You may not know me, but we've been in quality for 40 plus years. We've seen this crap go down. And by the way, if you think this is bad, look into medical. You have Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson that sit on ANSI's board. Okay, it's disgusting. You have the FDA sitting right there who approves all these vaccines. They're sitting colluding together. You can't make this shit up. And I apologize for letting the cat out of the bag, but their quality has lacked in consistency and integrity and quality, at least since 2002, when Boeing gave their accreditation body that they sit on. ANSI, they sit on the board. They sat on the board that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. And Boeing also sat on the management board that can, to manipulate, to add input into the changes on the company. That's what you call stacking the deck. Again, 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS@yahoo.com. And this goes from David Foster Wallace. He said this: "The truth will set you free, but not until it is finished with you." And from Confucius, and this is where I stand here, it is not the droplet of water that wears away the mighty stone, but it is its persistence. I thank you.